Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live recording of the Managing Partners podcast. My name is Daisey, and I'll be your host, also the founder of Array Digital. We help law firms crush it online with digital marketing. Today, I got an awesome guest coming out of Atlanta, Georgia, James Grant. Welcome to the show.
What's going on, Kevin? I'm super stoked to be on your podcast and hoping to have a good time.
Well, you're going to, because that's what we do here. So welcome to the show. Excited to have you on. We had a real nice little conversation behind the scenes, which is always, one of my favorite things to do while getting to do this show. So getting to have that small talk, learn about each other, and it's just part of having fun on this podcast. So James, obviously, you're in Georgia. Your firm is Georgia Trial Attorneys, and right below everyone, if you're tuning in, his website address is right below. It's 8334thewin.com. If you're listening on audio, it's 8334thewin.com. And check out the website. Obviously, we want attorneys on this show listening to connect with one another. Maybe there's some referral opportunities. Maybe there's some learning opportunities. Maybe you see something on his site that he's doing well, his personal branding. You should definitely check out. And we're gonna be talking about a lot of this stuff in the episode today, but check him out, reach out to him. At the end, he'll share a little bit more information on how you can directly connect with him. And of course, always reach out to me, LinkedIn, by email, if you're on our newsletter, and just say, hey, can I get his information? I'll send it over to you.
I mean, so James, area pigeons work as well. I mean, however you want to do it, we'll make it happen, right?
Area pigeon, Telegram, you name it. Pony Express. So James, let's start off with getting to know you. And, my first question is always, tell me about yourself, your story. How did you, or why did you become an attorney?
So the simple version is I help other personal injury lawyers make more money faster and with less stress by serving as their outsourced litigation department. That's the quick and easy way of telling what I do. But as far as who I am, there's a whole lot more to that story. And, how I got started in law, I don't know. It just kind of happened. Because if we go way, way back to undergrad, I went to Georgia Tech and I was a civil engineering major. And all of a sudden, a few years later, I'm running a law firm. So it's been a crazy story from, beginning to here. But, life takes twists and turns, and sometimes you just got to roll with it. And it's worked out for me so far. But yeah, it's taken a few interesting turns because people are like, "Why'd you go from engineering to law?" And there's a lot there.
Well, I'm going to add something to that real quick, but I want to focus the show on you, of course. But so Array Digital, my company, I have a partner as well, and we're about 25 folks. But my partner went to Virginia Tech. And he was a civil engineer, and now
not everybody's perfect. I mean, we are the best at Georgia Tech when it comes to engineering. I can't say that.
Come on. But, well, anyway, so he was a civil engineer and now owns a marketing company with me, and has for a long time. I went into engineering for like CAD, and I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do, and then I went to work at a civil engineering firm. So I worked at a civil engineering firm before I started my marketing company. Years ago, back in 2006. So me and my partner both were in civil engineering. So
I mean, we're just going to have to start a new podcast and call it the Three Musketeers, and just, we're going to make this work.
And we can invite other civil engineers on that are not civil engineers anymore.
Yeah. Exactly.
Stay tuned for the new podcast coming out. Well, so James, tell me, all right, so you're in Atlanta. You help other trial attorneys. Tell me more about the firm. Like, what is your focus? What are you guys all about?
So when we got into, starting a business, most attorneys have no clue what they're doing. I was a prime example. And when we adopted a business coach, brought them in and started figuring out that, you can run a law firm just like a business, blew our minds. But then as you start taking on, the mindset of an entrepreneur, you realize that you can't really dabble in everything. You have to be an expert in something.
Yes.
And my business partner and I, Mark, we both very much like the personal injury field. We're very good at it. We enjoy it. We have the ability to help a lot of people. We hate what insurance companies do and what they stand for. So, it was just a great fit for us and our personalities and what we wanted to do with life. So we're like, great, I can, take a pitching wedge and hit 13 other law firms from my house that do personal injury. Like, there's no shortage of personal injury attorneys in the Atlanta area. So we're like, okay, well, we're in this field, but how do we differentiate ourselves? How do we, create a unique value proposition or something to set us apart? And that's when we realized that, everybody is, or not everybody, but a lot of attorneys that are in the personal injury field are very good at the hustle market sell. They have a great advertising and sales campaign set up to where, they've got a good glide path. They've got a good pipeline. They're able to get cases. Getting cases is generally not the problem for a lot of personal injury attorneys because they have a network. They have several avenues, whether it's ads, whether it's referral marketing, there's back-end marketing, front-end marketing. There's a ton of different things they can do. But the same team that you run your pre-litigation firm with probably should not be the same team that you run your litigation firm with, because it's effectively two different everythings. And kind of like football and baseball, you can't take the Atlanta Braves and go play the Atlanta Falcons, and you can't take the Falcons, you go play the Braves. Like, it's two entirely different skill sets. So we realized that, well, what if we become being in the business of helping other personal injury lawyers with their firm? Because most cases settle pre-litigation and the margins are very good, but there are some cases that need litigation. And we can take away the overhead, the cost, everything that's associated with running a litigation department, and give them more money and more time and more freedom to put back into their marketing machine. We're all going to do better together. Their clients are going to do better. Their cases are going to do better. Their firm is going to do better. Everything's going to be better from a personal, professional, financial standpoint. So that's where we've really just kind of narrowed in and said, yeah, we want to be the go-to one-stop shop for outsourced litigation to help those other personal injury attorneys that are out there.
That's awesome. So I love that. I'm not a personal injury attorney, but I obviously know a lot of them. I have a lot of clients that are personal injury attorneys. I've had a lot on the show, but most firms don't litigate, or they stay clear of it pretty much, or they don't have a really good process for handling it, or they can't afford it. So they either outsource it or refer it. Typically probably just referring it. But, and so there's the firms that are trial firms make it very clear that they are trial attorneys, and they walk around prideful about that, but there's definitely not as many out there that have that skill set.
And even within the community, because there are a few, there's not a lot that want to do this because it is harder, it is more difficult, but generally when there's those areas, that's where the biggest market share is. So that's why we went there.
Yeah,
and
I love
we
it.
realized that, there's also a credibility issue that's at stake, and at least in my opinion. If I'm in the business of saying that I want to help other law firm owners and I want them to do better, well,
Yep.
I have to take a step back and look at my own marketing plan, my business plan, and say, what am I doing to get cases as well? Because if I'm saying, hey, on one hand, I want to help you as a law firm owner to do better with your litigation department by taking that away and giving you more money back. But at the same time, taking some of those profits and throwing it into pre-litigation marketing, and then now competing against those same people for those organic personal injury cases. I think that's an issue. So what we've decided is, with our firm, we're not doing ads. You're not going to see us spend any money on Google ads, Facebook ads, digital ads. We're not going to do that, because if I'm truly in the business of helping other law firm owners, I'm only going to be marketing our litigation services. I'm not going to be marketing to the pre-lit clients, because then I'm your competition. I can't help you.
Then you're double dipping.
So that's where we're like, you know what? That's going to be our unique value proposition that we offer. We're truly going to help you because we're not going to be your competition.
Interesting. I mean, that's that's one of those things that you need to clearly put a stake in the ground and be transparent about it. And it sounds like you've done that, which is great. There's a lot of the situations in business where it's kind of like, and it sounds like we got to make a very clear decision here, and we got to make it clear that this is the way we're doing things. So that's
Well,
awesome.
Once you do that, it brings clarity to the situation, because now I know what my responsibility and what my lane is. Everyone else knows, and there's a clear line of when I cross. So everyone can say, hey, you messed this up. You didn't uphold your end of the bargain. You said you were going to do this, but you did that. So it's, it's not fuzzy. It's very objective. And when it comes to business, you have to deal in the land of objectivity as opposed to subjective stuff.
I totally agree. Yeah. So I love that. So I don't think I've ever had anyone on the show that is doing what you're doing and how you're doing it. So I appreciate that. You sharing kind of what you're doing. So
that tells me I'm on the right track.
You're on the right track.
Yeah.
How do I invest?
I've got all the market share right now then.
No, it's interesting what you're doing. I've obviously had, we have attorneys that we market for that, they're like, hey, if we get these leads, we're fine, but they just refer them. Like I've seen firms actually go after certain stuff that they 100% are going to refer 100% of the time, but it's 30% for them, free money, right? So, if they got the ability to do it, but what you're doing is a completely different kind of concept. I think it's really cool. I've seen some of this stuff in kind of my space a little bit with in the agency world, where there's other agencies that are like, they work and help other agencies that can't do stuff that they can do, right? And so it's definitely something I've seen other places. One of the things, this is kind of a tangent, but I heard you say something that resonated with me, or that I'm familiar with. And you mentioned personal, professional, and financial goals. And I was wondering where that came from.
It didn't come from me, that's for sure. Because when I started this business, I had no clue what I was doing. So we started the business in 2015, in January of 2015. And, we were two wide-eyed idealists that thought that just, the world was our oyster. And then you realize that, like, what is happening? Like, you have no plan. You're just doing stuff. And if you practice law and you do it enough, then you're just going to have a law firm, which is generally you just have a hobby. You don't have a business. So finally, after a lot of struggles and realizing that there had to be a better way to do it, we hired a business coach in October of 2018. Okay. And that was the single greatest decision of my entire life, just about. It just has helped us in so many ways, because you can run a law firm just like Amazon, just like Tesla, just like any of these giant corporations, because you just so happen to run a business that practices law. That's it. Attorneys are not unicorns. We are not special. We are just business people that happen to practice law. And once you start running your business like a business and have a business plan, a marketing plan, a sales plan, like you have everything mapped out in objective metrics that are quantifiable and that are reviewed and checked regularly, all of a sudden things become so much easier, because now you have a business and not a hobby.
You're dead on. And I've had plenty of people on this show that, they're like, well, I went to law school, but I didn't learn how to run a business. No one teaches you that. Marketing, they don't teach you that. So, you know how to do one thing. You're the technician. You're not a business owner at that point. And then magically you become this business owner. And I don't know how many prospects that come through my door, meaning firms that want to work with us or potentially work with us. And it's a single attorney with one assistant who's been practicing for 30, 40 years and can't even have a meeting with me because their time and they have to get on a phone call. They have to go to a case. And it's like, you're never going to change at this point. That's too far gone. But it's,
well, I mean, that's the mindset. And that's almost the theme that is indoctrinated into many of us when we go to law school is, well, you just have to be a really good lawyer and you have to be really ethical and you have to be really knowledgeable. But the vast majority of the problems with attorneys across the nation are because they don't have business sense and they're not making business decisions. It's like you said, they're just hopping from one fire to the next. And, that's no way to live. Like you don't start a business to become a slave to your business. Like that's
100%.
You aren't a servant to your business. Your business needs to serve your personal, professional, and financial goals and help you get there and achieve that. but it's so many times it is the other way around in practicality.
So it's actually interesting. Like we right now we're doing this basically an exercise with my leadership team. So we have a leadership team of certain folks on my team that we're setting individual, personal, professional, financial goals that they set for themselves that we are aware of that we can help them achieve, because the business should help them achieve that just like it would help me and my partner, and then on through the company as we're able to get to everybody. But that's why I stopped you on that, because I wasn't sure who your coach was, or for anyone listening, if you recommend is a particular type of coach, or I always recommend a lot of groups on this, like How to Manage a Small Law Firm, or Atticus.
So that's who our coach has been, and I sing the praises of How to Manage a Small Law Firm. I mean, we started off at the basic entry level,
stage 1.
I mean, yeah, and this year we're probably going to spend over $100,000 on different levels of coaching with How to Manage and Vistage and a couple others, because it works. It works so much, and you never stop. You can't stop learning. And one of the things that you said, you just magically all of a sudden arrive at entrepreneurship. Like, it's work. You got to get there. So many people think it's magical, but like, when I look at where I started and where I am and where we're going, it was really tough to get here. And the light at the end of the tunnel is so far away, I can't see it, but I know that there are many steps along the way where it gets me more out of the business and on the business, so that I can then be the visionary for where I see our company in 10, 15, 20 years, as opposed to, well, what client problem am I dealing with today?
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, 100%. And so How to Manage a Small Law Firm, anyone listening, or HTM as I call them now, because I've been familiar with them for a while. We have a lot of clients that are members. We actually meet with coaches like James's coaches for our meetings. CEOs, CMOs are usually involved with us as the agency. So we've got to learn a lot about how they do things there. And 100%. So me and my partner, we've been part of lots of different programs. We're in Entrepreneurs Organization, other niche masterminds for like agency owners. Join a group, even if it's local, with other attorneys that are trying to grow in whatever you can do. Get outside of yourself, because if it's just you go home, my wife and kids, they don't run a business. I can't tell them about problems and things and see what they can suggest. My friends don't usually run business, so I can't share a lot of this stuff. You get into a training program or a coaching program. And then the other cool thing about HTM too, you have a peer group, right? So you have other attorneys that run their firms where you can say, hey, I got this idea, or what did you do here? Or I have this problem, and you can share ideas. It's really powerful.
Yeah. I mean, I think peer groups are so important, just because, I mean, to your point, it's hard to find peer groups of business professionals, because, for me, I can go to a bar meeting several times a week. Like, there are bar functions all over the place, but generally those bar functions, now they do serve a purpose. They are beneficial, but you also have to understand the context that they're beneficial for. They're not going to help you with business for the most part, because they're going to be like, this is the way that I tried this case, and this was this new novel argument, or the Court of Appeals gave us this new brief, and we need to look at, or this new ruling, and we need to look at it this way and do it this way because the statute changed.
How to be a better lawyer.
That is the production of how to do the legal work. But if you ask those same people, well, when was the last time you took a 30-day vacation with emergency access only and your firm still grew? And they're like, what voodoo are you talking about? And I won't talk financial numbers and revenue with you, and I won't share my secrets. It's like, this is just business. Like, it's just numbers and metrics. So there's a certain level of finding that peer group where you can have those conversations and be received positively, as opposed to getting pushback. When you get pushback, it's like, nope, this isn't the conversation for me.
So when another thing I do is, again, if we have a prospect, I can tell HTM members right away. And that's kind of what I was getting at with you. I have an interview sheet. So if, say, a law firm's like, hey, I want to meet, maybe talk about marketing and see if you guys can help us. I run them through an interview. I don't show them anything. show them websites we've made or pricing. I interview them and ask questions. And it's, what is your revenue? What is your each client average value worth? How many leads are you getting per month right now from all digital and every place? And I write down all the numbers. And then what's your revenue goal or sales goal for next month? Blah, 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 blah. 9 times out of 10, they have no clue about any of that stuff, even like their revenue for last year. It's like, and then I know they're not a fit for us at that point, but
no.
And then I'll usually say, well, you probably need to look, at this other solutions or whatever. If it's an HTM member, they're like just rattling off to like the, what's your average client worth? $3,405. Like, oh, wow. Okay. So it's definitely a difference with the type of folks that in the kind of clients that I want know those numbers because they're dialed in. And so you got to get, if you're listening right now, anyone out there, you need to know all that stuff off the top of your head. You're that dialed in that you know what's going on. And places like HTM and these other groups will definitely help you with that stuff. So,
well, I mean, it's just like Shark Tank. I mean, every business that goes on Shark Tank, one of the first things that they start the pitch is, all right, let's run through the numbers. And if you don't know your numbers, then you're just running your law firm and your business based upon gut and feel, which is subjective. If you run it by objective metrics, it makes things easy. You don't have to think. It's just, this is the number, this is the goal, this is where we are, we need to adjust something, and then dive for it and figure it out.
Yeah. No, I love it. All right, well, let's move on. So marketing wise, now you're not marketing to people getting hurt and trying to get cases that way. I assume you do come up and you have some SEO and you might come up anyway. You can't really avoid that, but what is working for you well from marketing to like attorneys and getting in front of them? I know you're on this podcast and you've been on other podcasts. But what is really working for you from a marketing perspective right now?
The biggest thing when it comes to a B2B business, which is what we are, business to business, is you have to do business with people that like, and trust. You have to be able to establish that. And the only way that you can establish that is by establishing relationships. I can't just, get an email list of every single personal injury lawyer in Georgia and send an email, and then all of a sudden I'm going to get cases. Could it work? Possibly. But I mean, that's effectively like a direct mail campaign where you're looking at for, maybe 1.5% open rate, if that. So that's not going to work because they don't know me. So the biggest thing that we've been doing is just business development. It's all about building relationships with other lawyers, finding out how I can help them. And then if I can help them, how our businesses can work together and just building that relationship. So, going to lunch with attorneys, playing golf, finding out what they like to do, going to different games. It's all in that business development role so that I understand them, they understand me, and that we can work together towards a common goal of both benefiting our firms and our clients together.
That makes total sense. So I'm in B2B myself. So we've gone through the different gamuts in business where, I've had a whole sales team, people calling and hitting up people and trying to bang the phones and try to bring in a law firm as a client like that is not impossible, but it's just not worth the effort. So I do much better building relationships, having conversations. This show here, having you on the show, talking to you, getting to know you, going to events, hanging out with people.
You've got other things like the way a lot of law firms work is there's going to be a gatekeeper. Generally, I can't pick up the phone and say, hey, I want to speak to the attorney or I want to speak to the owner. Like you're going to have either one or two gatekeepers. So if you have a prospect, you got to figure out first, who's the first gatekeeper? How do I know them? What connections can I leverage to make sure that I at least get to know them in some way and then work your way up? But it's not just like you all of a sudden get access. You have to, work these levels to then get to the person that you want to speak to.
Yeah, 100%. And these are big, it's not like, more like B2C where you're just kind of blasting out there. Like each attorney, I assume each firm that signs on with you is a pretty good, this could be a big deal, right? So it's, you be signing up 100 a day, right? So it's
I mean, so like, our numbers this month, we need to onboard 49 cases. We're close to the end of the month, and we're really close to that number, and we're on track to beat probably 3 or 4 over. So it's not about, having a ton of law firms. Can I work with a ton of law firms? Absolutely, because the more law firms I have, I can put people and pieces in place to then grow the different pods to make sure that our attorneys can support the level of cases that we have. That's an easy thing to do, but some firms send a lot, some firms send a little. So it's more about figuring out where they are and where they want to be, and then working together to get all of us to that goal.
That's awesome. So for anyone, just because since you are unique with your kind of model there. So we say, we have personal injury attorneys right now in Georgia. Do you only work in Georgia, or do you handle other states at all?
Well, yes and no. So we work with other law firms from other states that have Georgia cases, because there are law firms in Tennessee, South Carolina, Alabama, Florida, where the individual, the client, they may live in that state, but the accident happens in Georgia. Whether it's they're going through vacation or work or any number of things, they come back home, they call the attorney that's in their local area. That's generally the way it works. So those law firms, at least in Georgia, they can work the case pre-litigation, and then if it doesn't settle, then they can bring us in, and then we can work together with them to get the case into litigation and resolve it.
Got it. Excellent. Okay. That's just want to make sure.
Now, another thing is Georgia right now, but we've got some pretty big plans as we scale up, that we are going to go into other states and bring on other states that we can handle, wholly like Georgia.
Excellent. That's awesome. Got to have goals planned. Actually, we have a big attorney client of ours in South Carolina, not very far from you, that I'll have to connect you with. So that's just over the line. Is probably a good opportunity.
Yep.
And my camera's going blurry. See, it happens every once in a while.
Yeah, you talked about it. You said it's going to happen. So
I told you it was going to happen. Well, that's fine. Just as long as we're focused on you, we're good. So, I mean, everything you said, I think is a huge takeaway for everyone listening. How to run a business. Your law firm is a business. You got to make sure you start getting in that mindset. Do something about it. Look for help from others, coaching, HTM, other groups. There's also another new one that I just got introduced to, which is Atticus Advantage.
Yep, I've heard of them.
So I didn't even know about them. But there's so much out there. Or connect with James. I'm going to share his information here again in a second. And I'm sure he would love to, share that if, you're interested to figure out what he's done or what's worked for him. But yeah, you got to run your firm like a business all the way through. And if not, you're going to be just slaving away forever, trying to, just make your money and keep your people employed. So definitely something you need to do. Also, there's a lot of good books out there. If you want to start small, Traction, amazing book. E-Myth, basically like you mentioned Amazon. So like E-Myth is all about basically building your business as if you were going to franchise it. Not you're going to franchise it, but say you wanted to have a law firm and you're going to pop another one up on every corner, and it's going to run exactly the same as the one you have now. And so
every business should do that. And the prime example is look at Subway. The Subway that I remember from 20 years ago is the exact same Subway today. So it works. And if you build your law firm as a asset that can be sold outside of you, then you have a business. But if the business is you're never going to sell. You're never going to create an asset, because the second you leave, the business goes away.
Absolutely. Business valuation. They're like, well, if James leaves, the business goes under. I'm not paying you anything for that. It's not worth it, right? So you have to remove yourself. And the only way to remove yourself is to have all those things in place where it's not going to last very long. So, we're on the same pursuit, James. We're doing the same thing with our business. Still lots to do, still lots to learn. But you can, like you said, that the tunnel, you can see the light, but it's a little dim right now, but it's getting closer.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. When we're planning 20 years in advance. So that light is really far away, but there's a lot of cool things that are going to happen along that way.
You got to enjoy the ride, right? So I think, it's, what's the saying? Like, if it's all about the destination, the ones that enjoy the ride are the ones that are going to crush it. So, enjoy what you're doing. Enjoy the challenges.
I don't think that's exactly right, but I think that's all right. I think we can roll.
I don't think that's exactly right at all, but it's something like that. But I guess the people that enjoy the journey, that's where you want to be. So the challenges along the way, the ups and downs, the wins, celebrate the win for a minute, but then go on the next one. Don't settle. Well, James, anything else you'd like to share about yourself? I definitely want everyone to take a look at your website. I like some kind of like your branding and like the cool, like you got the shirt with like the superhero and stuff like that. James has been on a lot of podcasts. I know he's kind of going that direction too, with getting his name out there and getting in front of people, which I think is a great idea. So.
Yeah, I mean, I like to talk with as many attorneys as I can. So there's a couple ways you can get in touch with me. Generally, two are the best way. First is go to the website. 833-4-THE-WIN. It's our toll-free number. We have a lot of great resources for attorneys. We give away our complaints, our discovery, a lot of our templates, because especially in the personal injury world, a rising tide raises all ships. So the more we can all grow together and do better, it's going to help. And then if you see our work product and like it and would like to work with us, then we can make that work as well. So, website is the best way to get in touch with us, whether you want to go to that, particular web page or just reach out and contact us, get in touch with me, set up lunch. We'll make it happen.
Awesome. I know I need to do that once I come to Atlanta and not in the airport.
Hey, we got lots of options. We got some good food here. I like to eat.
Oh, all right. I'm down. Well, James, thanks so much for sharing your story and kind of your approach to business, which is like literally in line exactly what we are doing and how we do things here. Definitely want to hear, more young people, young attorneys starting their own firms, hear this and say, I want to start on the right foot. Just because you're good at being an attorney or, you don't know how to run a business. So get help from others. People have done it. It's no secret. There's a way to do it. And it works. You just have to, take that first step and
gotta follow the recipe.
Follow the recipe. That's a good way to put it. So, James, thanks so much for sharing your story. Anything else you want to share, or before we go?
No, I mean it's been great. I've had a wonderful time, and if anybody needs anything, you can get a hold of me. Otherwise, maybe we'll do the podcast again and check in and see how things are going, both of us.
Absolutely. We'll see. James will be in like 3 or 4 states. We'll be, man, who knows where we'll be at that point.
No, Kevin, thank you very much. It's been great. I've had a good time.
No, I appreciate it, man. All right, everyone listening, of course, this podcast, you can get it on every platform out there, whether it's on iOS or Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio. It's everywhere. We also will push this episode up live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. It's also on our weekly newsletter. It goes out every Thursday. So that goes out to 20-some hundred attorneys. And so we'll feature James on an episode here coming out soon. But also you can go to thisisarray.com/podcast, and you can go through that whole library. I think it's about 250 almost that are published. And we actually have a backlog as well. So we're coming out with new episodes every single week. You can filter by state and practice area. So James, in this case, you could go Georgia, personal injury, and see whatever attorneys. And then you can email me and say, hey, Kevin, can you connect me with those attorneys? No problem. So it's a good resource that we're trying to build here. And then if you need help or have any questions about marketing, SEO specifically, and websites, that's what we do. It's what we're best at. If you want to outrank your competition, we have the secret sauce. So if you have any questions about how we do that, or want to take a look at what your site is doing or what could be wrong with it, happy to do that. Reach out to me. You can just go to our website, fill out a form, or book me for a call. So that's all I got. James, thank you, sir.
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure.
All right, well, we'll chat backstage. Just stay on with me. Everyone else, have a great day. Hope you found this helpful. Take James's advice and start treating your business or your law firm like a business.
You'll thank me.
Talk to you soon. and then call and thank him.